Imagine you're in a sleek Google conference room. Kim Scott leans in, telling a new manager how her feedback wrecked a brilliant engineer's confidence and nearly lost her team. But it didn't have to be that way. What if the secret to being a kick-ass boss isn't sugarcoating or brutal honesty? What if it's a crazy, simple idea, hidden in plain sight? That's where radical candor kicks in, mixing fierce caring with fearless truth-telling. But how do you deliver that without blowing it all up? Let's unpack that, starting with a story that might hit a little too close to home. First up, the radical candor sweet spot. Too much kindness without clarity, you're stuck in ruinous empathy. But too much bluntness without care? That's obnoxious aggression. Kim Scott's Google Tales show the magic balance that makes teams actually want feedback. Kim recounts the time at Google when she gave feedback to a high-performing but prickly engineer, Pooja. Instead of sugarcoating, Kim cared enough to be direct, but she nailed it with the right tone. Pooja didn't shut down or get defensive. Instead, she nodded, asked questions, and transformed her behavior. It was feedback that empowered, not punished. But how often does that happen at your work? Radical candor is like tightrope walking over a canyon. On one side is ruinous empathy. You're so afraid of hurting someone, you say nothing. On the other, obnoxious aggression. You fire bullets with zero regard for feelings. But stride that tightrope, and you're combining your heart and your grit. It's an emotional dance where caring personally fuels courage and challenging directly sparks growth. The payoff? When Kim mastered radical candor, Pooja's team blossomed, deadlines got hit, and trust soared. Radical candor transforms feedback from awkward horror into an act of leadership that builds loyalty in teams who want to improve. You stop avoiding those tough talks and start craving them. That kind of honest care reshapes everything, especially your work culture. Now, what happens when you care too much, so much that you protect people from any bad news? Welcome to ruinous empathy, the sneaky killer of team progress. Kim's stories reveal how kindness can backfire big time. At Apple, Kim noticed managers dodging difficult conversations with engineers. One manager wouldn't tell his team member, Lisa, her code was a mess. He thought he was being kind. Months later, the project slipped the deadline, and Lisa was blindsided by the real feedback from someone else. This quiet kindness didn't protect, it buried problems until they exploded. Avoiding conflict is like sweeping dirt under a fancy rug. It feels safe, polite, even caring, but eventually, bam! Your carpet is a mess with a stink no one wants to admit to. Ruinous empathy muffles honest talk and kills the chance for real improvement. Your team needs you to face tough truths, not tiptoe around them. Kim suggests dropping empathy traps by imagining yourself as a brutal mirror. It's painful, but reflecting the truth back gives people the shot at fixing what they don't see. Waiting to protect feelings just delays the pain and multiplies it. Spot when you're soft-pedaling and flip to radical candor before it's too late. Flip the coin, some say screw feelings, just be blunt. That's obnoxious aggression. Kim's sharpest stories, think Google and startups, show why that style backfires spectacularly in teams craving trust and creativity. Kim tells about a startup manager named Jason who bulldozed through feedback. His blunt comments tore down morale, his team clocked out mentally and emotionally. Despite getting results short-term, everyone dreaded meetings and creativity died a slow death. The jabs were direct, no sugar, yet the damage was deeper than anyone expected. Obnoxious aggression is like tossing grenades in a brainstorming session. Sure, you clear the field, but everyone ducks for cover, stops throwing ideas, and trusts nobody. It's leadership turned into a war zone, where fear replaces motivation and innovation suffocates under constant fire. Kim's breakthrough? She learned to layer honesty with care, turning grenade tosses into thoughtful sparring. Radical candor revives tough talks with empathy, making feedback clear but safe. A social alchemy that brings teams back from the brink, reactivates collaboration, and sparks creative problem-solving. Radical candor isn't just a handshake move, it's a vibe. Kim unmasks how leaders build cultures where honesty blooms naturally, and everyone feels the freedom to speak up without the nightmare of backlash. Google's famous Feedback Fridays weren't just meetings, they were rituals where people gave and received feedback openly, with humor and respect. Kim describes how this ritual cracked the ice and normalized radical candor. Employees learned it was safe to speak up, poke at ideas, and admit mistakes openly. The catch? It required leaders to model this vulnerability every single week. Making criticism feel like care is about framing the act. Think of it like offering a sharp scalpel wrapped in velvet. The tool cuts deep, but the wrapping shows you're there to heal, not harm. Kim teaches that it's not just what you say, but the why and how you say it that transforms feedback from threat to gift. Tiny habits can seed candor culture, a manager pausing to ask, "How can I support you better?" Or starting meetings by thanking people for honest feedback. These micro-rituals invite openness so radically that teams start expecting candor as normal. Eventually, brutal truths aren't brutal anymore, they're the heartbeats of progress. Putting radical candor into practice every day can feel like juggling flaming torches. Kim's final lessons are about turning this delicate tension into your leadership superpower, starter tips and mental shifts to make it second nature. Kim remembers a conversation with one of her toughest direct reports where she stumbled through delivering hard feedback. Instead of retreating, she owned the awkwardness, pulled the team in, and modeled vulnerability. What started as painful soon became a turning point that opened honest dialogues everyone craved. That moment was a declaration. Radical candor is messy, but it's worth it. The magic lies in balancing praise with criticism. Think of it as a dance where you don't stomp on toes. Kim suggests praising even the smallest wins loudly, and honestly so the team stays motivated and confident. Criticism lands softer when your team feels supported, turning challenges into stepping stones instead of walls. Awkward moments happen to everyone. Kim advises flipping those moments into fuel for connection and improvement. Instead of dodging, lean in, own the discomfort, and let your team see your human side. That honesty invites theirs, and suddenly, what was tension becomes trust, and trust makes all the difference. Remember Kim's first scene, the Google manager who almost lost his star engineer by mishandling feedback? Now you see how radical candor would have saved the day, honest, caring, and direct. Try this. Next time you hesitate on feedback, pause, ask yourself if you care personally and challenge directly. Then speak up with that combo. It won't be perfect, probably awkward, but it'll be real. And real is what your team craves. So here's to conversations that build, not break, and leaders who dare to care loud and clear. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.